Charles Dickens, A Biography. NGAUGC Set English.
Charles John Dickens was an English writer and social critic. Is considered the greatest English novelist of the Victorian era. Wrote about poverty, injustice and crime, all with a twist of humor. Wrote 15 novels, 5 novellas, hundreds of short stories and non-fiction articles, most of the novels published in monthly or weekly installments. He described London as a magic lantern in many of his novels. Dickens owned a raven whom he named Grip. It was not only a beloved pet but also featured in one of his novels, Barnaby Rudge. This raven inspired Edgar Allan Poe to write the poem, The Raven.
Dickens' works. Sketches by Boz. It is a collection of short pieces. Charles Dickens published in various newspapers and other periodicals between 1833 and 1836. The 56 sketches concern London scenes and people. The whole work is divided into 4 sections: Our Parish, Scenes, Characters, and Tales.
The Pickwick Papers, 1837. It was Dickens' first novel. Main characters are Samuel Pickwick, the main protagonist and founder of the Pickwick Club. Nathaniel Winkle, a young friend of Pickwick's and his traveling companion.
Oliver Twist, 1938. It was his second novel. Dickens satirizes the hypocrisies of poverty, child labor, domestic violence, the recruitment of children as criminals, and the presence of street children. The story centers on orphan Oliver Twist. He was the first child protagonist in an English novel.
Barnaby Rudge. It was Dickens' first historical novel, and also one of his less popular novels. It is a story of Protestants versus Catholics. The main theme is pollution and exploitation. Edgar Allan Poe had written a review of Barnaby Rudge for Graham's magazine saying, among other things, that the raven should have served a more symbolic prophetic purpose.
A Christmas Carol, 1843. Dickens wrote this novella when the British were re-evaluating past Christmas traditions, including carols, and newer customs such as Christmas trees. The protagonist Ebenezer Scrooge, a businessman, who was visited by the ghost of his former business partner Jacob Marley, and the spirits of Christmas past, present and yet to come. After their visits, Scrooge awakens on Christmas morning a changed man.
Dummy and Son, 1848. The story concerns Paul Dummy, the wealthy owner of the shipping company, whose dream is to have a son to continue his business. The themes are arranged marriages, child cruelty, betrayal, deceit, and relations between people from different classes.
David Copperfield, 1850. It was the 8th novel by Charles Dickens and was written in the first person. It may be Dickens's autobiographical novel. The protagonist David Copperfield is widely thought to be based on Dickens himself, incorporating many elements of his own life. David opens his story with the question, "Will I be the hero of my own life?" Means that he does not know where his approach will lead him. The primary theme is growth and the changes that occur on the way to maturity.
A Tale of Two Cities, 1859. It is an historical novel, set in London and Paris before, and during the French Revolution. It tells the story of the French Dr. Manette, his 18-year-long imprisonment in the Bastille in Paris, and his release to live in London with his daughter Lucy, whom he had never met. Resurrection is a major theme in the novel.
Great Expectations, 1861. It was the 13th novel by Dickens and considered a Bildungsroman. It was his second novel, after David Copperfield, to be fully narrated in the first person. It is set in Kent and London in the early to mid-19th century, starting in a graveyard, where the young Pip, the protagonist, is accosted by the escaped convict Abel Magwitch. Wealth plays an important part in this novel. George Bernard Shaw remarked that Great Expectations was more seditious than Marx's Das Kapital.
The Mystery of Edwin Drood, 1870. It is the final novel by Charles Dickens. Edwin Drood, an orphan, plans to marry Rosa Budd. He is working as an engineer with the firm in which his father had been a partner. John Jasper, the choir master and Rosa Budd's music master. He secretly loves Rosa. He visits an opium den in London.
Dickens has been praised by many of his fellow writers, from Leo Tolstoy to George Orwell, G.K. Chesterton and Tom Wolfe, for his realism, comedy, prose style, unique characterizations and social criticism.
Oscar Wilde, Henry James and Virginia Woolf complained of a lack of psychological depth, loose writing, and a vein of sentimentalism.
T.S. Eliot wrote that Dickens excelled in character, in the creation of characters of greater intensity than human beings.